Cool. Hi, welcome to the Clickup 3.0 Roundtable. My name is Ken. I am a product strategist here at Clickup, and I'm here with some of the Clickup team. We'll actually just do a quick round of just names, but we'll get into more of like what you guys do here later.
You want to just do names? I can do it.
Yeah.
So my name is Ivan. I work here. I'm product manager. I should say what I own. Product manager of tasks.
I'm Zach. I've been at Clickup for close to 4 years now, and I've touched a lot of things. Right now, working on whiteboards, automations, imports, and a little bit of AI.
Hi, I'm Liam. I'm a strategic solutions engineer here. I work with our enterprise customers, partnering with them on their digital transformations. I've been here for just about 2.5 years.
Cool. And today we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. I mean, what we've got 3.0. I mean, we have to talk about 3.0. We just came out with it. We're going to be talking about tasks, some of the changes there. I mean, it's like the core building block of ClickUp. So how could we not talk about it? We're going to talk about automations. We're going to talk about AI, of course. And who knows? I mean, we could end up talking about cars by the end of this. That's not really on the agenda today, though. So I guess we can start talking about tasks. Now, for those of you tuning in, 3.0, we changed a lot, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks so different than what we had. And even 2.0 was so different than what we had in 1.0. I think, like many people would wonder, when we change things, why do we change it, right? My mom, as you guys know, because I talk about this all the time, my mom uses ClickUp. And it was so funny because she hadn't used it for a while. Then she came back and she's like, Ken, everything's different now. And she's like, I just learned the last one. And I'm like, yeah, but mom, here's what's changed. And I guess she was wondering, but I'm sure many people are too, well, why did we change task view? Why did we change tasks? It was great in 2.0. I could use it to track when my dog pooped. I don't know. That's probably a use case. I don't know. But my question for you, Ivan, to get us kicked off here is we changed task view. It looks very different. Why?
Yeah. I mean, so I do want to correct one part because I think if you look back at where task was, 2.0 was very similar to 1.0. If you look at 1.0 task, did a good job. When the 2.0 version came around, we pretty much did the same thing, except we've been adding in things to it. We've layered on more functionality to it. But the thing is that fundamentally at its core, task has always been task. And that's a very key thing to kind of know is we built a system that is really good at tasks, and we built a task view that is really good at tasks. Get everything out of the box. The thing is that as more and more users kind of started to jump in, there was more use cases because we want to be work management, take care of a lot more things than just simple to-dos. And a lot of customers did do that. You use a task to track something like an epic. It could represent a person. It could represent all these things, and it's powerful. But then you start to kind of hit these little walls of where it's well, it's still called a task though. And everything is kind of pushing me to put a due date on a customer. This doesn't make any sense. So I think kind of knowing that is a very foundational thing to why we switched over. When we looked at 3.0, we said, okay, we need to be a little bit more flexible. We can't, go too far away from, making sure we solve the task piece of it, but we need to be able to allow that bit of flexibility.
To be what it is. And I feel like that's what we're a part of, right? Everything we do at ClickUp is more about the flexibility. I feel like that's the number one thing customers say to us, right?
Yeah, I think it's you could use ClickUp for a ton of different things. We have a wide range of customers, and I think there's a lot of actually you look at original ClickUp vision too, right? There's a lot of folks that say make a good docs and focus in on docs, or make a good task and focus in on tasks. ClickUp, we want to kind of make sure we handle everything, and we want to integrate it into one system, and it's kind of goes against a lot of the norms, a lot of the standards. Same thing with tasks. What should a task be used for? Is a ClickUp task supposed to be small? Is it supposed to be large? I think we can do both. It's very challenging, and we'll admit that. You're not going to get it right, but we do definitely take on the challenge because we know as customers that are kind of working with this, you'll end up creating a task, and how many times it just blow out of scope. and then you're having to like rethink like how am I gonna reorganize this?
Mhm.
You shouldn't have to. We want tasks to be something that's kind of flexible and it kind of grows.
I feel like that's a point of contention. How do you use tasks? How do you use subtasks? Right? How many subtasks does your average task have, Ivan? We'll actually go around.
As Ivan?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be an interesting one. I wonder if we should start kind of like segueing of what are the things that we wanted to do for 3.0. So when it comes to, and I'll answer that question. I will
You
remember
better,
to answer. Yeah. So when it comes to like managing tasks, like you will have some folks that'll have simple tasks. Need to, get coffee for the meeting. And you may have some tasks that's like build out this feature that's like multi-level, multi-subtask, nested subtasks, and all the good stuff. And the thing is that if you look at the Task View 2.0 experience, it's kind of in the middle. It wasn't really the friendliest for small tasks, and it wasn't really the friendliest for the largest ones. And the examples that I'll give is that if you did want to just do quick one-off tasks, there's often a lot. Like there's checklists, multiple subtasks, different things going on, and sometimes you just wanted that quick little, here's my task title, here's my description. If you go to the opposite end, you're managing more of like a more complex project. If you've ever tried to navigate, it was very clunky where you scroll down at the bottom, you see all these different subtasks, and you can click open, nest in, and we had that big gray bar at the top. And there was this dance that folks would have to do, just kind of like navigating up and down, going into the list, getting out of the list. So it wasn't really useful. So when we talked about like how do we want to improve it in Task View 3.0, we said, okay, we want to make it good on both ends. It should be simple enough where you can just give it a title, give it a description, and it's pretty clean. It's not too confusing. It's not too cluttered. You could just get that done, which is the majority of the work. But if this is going to grow out and you need like a complex project, how do you quickly navigate? How do you do something that has a lot? So that's what went into a lot of the design. So we had a clean layout, but we also built out features like the subtask sidebar. So this is kind of solving that.
Actually, while you're talking through it, Liam, if you want to show it on the demo screen.
Yeah, we can kind of demo it out.
Absolutely.
We'll just like have him demo it while you talk about it.
Yeah. So basically, that whole subtask sidebar, the idea was navigation. Can you make it so if you do have a ton of subtasks and nested subtasks, be able to pop it open and then quickly navigate through it? Go down the what's called the ranking, go up, and do it in a very fast and fluid way.
Is ranking the official term?
I just pulled that word out.
Is it what, a task hierarchy?
The task hierarchy and all that stuff. So the idea is that you can quickly click through it and you can navigate it. And that's what we went to do it. So this is where we start dogfooding. And you asked the question, how many tasks do I have? So we built out that feature. And then another one we were working on was what was the one? Custom task types. And then I said, all right, well, we're going to do this all in one task.
You're planning out the entire like epic in one task?
The entire epic, all the things.
Oh my gosh.
We had 150 subtasks.
Oh my goodness.
In that one. And it was the most pleasant experience I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look at me like, yeah, for me. But it was great because it's like I could just open up the task. All my top level information was there. And then organized underneath it, the engineers kind of worked on all their issues. You had creative working on their issues. And then we just kind of
what must have been the most interesting thing is you were building the new task view and you were making tasks for that. So you got to dog food while building the tasks that were being used to build tasks.
Yes.
Very Inception.
Very Inception, very complex, but that's how it was.
And I am very, very excited about the custom task types, and I want to talk about that. But just to highlight the flexibility of Clickup, when I use Clickup, I don't use subtask internally. I use assigned comments and I use checklists. So it really goes to show the flexibility, different workflows, different styles of working. We can support it all now in this Task View 3.0. When it comes to custom task types, our customers, I work with our enterprise customers, but really all of our customers are so excited about what you all have laid the foundation for, because now Clickup isn't just a task management tool. It can be a user story management tool. It can be a project management tool, I've heard stories such as yourself managing a wedding, an event management platform.
Ooh, what's the craziest use case you've seen ClickUp being used for?
The wedding is a good one. I've heard of a lot of weddings. A lot of ClickUp employees are using it to
Yeah.
manage their weddings. CRM is becoming a very popular use case in a lot of our like smaller and medium-sized business customers. But with custom task types, now what it allows you to do is build out different workflows that are opinionated. So while you may be working on a user story, I'm working on a customer account, and they're very different. And you've laid the foundation now to have customization for different types of tasks. So I know you just added the automation based on custom task types.
That's partnership.
Partnership. I love it.
Well,
Should be
like,
out
so like
very
custom
soon.
task types, right? You're kind of talking about it, like why you built it.
Mhm.
It's interesting how like that opinionation of what you see when you click on the button impacts users, right?
Oh yes. That was actually the crazy thing. So when we were building out custom task types, it first started with like asking questions. Like with most of the features, we're thinking, okay, what problems are we going to help solve in the day to day? So I jumped on a bunch of phone calls, talked to a bunch of great customers, and went through how they would use it, how they currently use ClickUp, what are some of the challenges. And there was a lot of like things that would surface. I actually listed those out. So on our candy board right now, there is the item types requests, and I also pasted kind of follow-up ones. So some of them were like, now that I have, maybe it's OKRs, and you want to have your objectives related to your key results. You want to have custom fields, because once you start having these like objects, like, hey, this is a customer, you want to make sure that whatever fields you define for that go along with it. So that way you create a customer on this list or you create one over there, they should be
So
connected.
each custom item type would have its own fields.
Yes, that's the thinking. So we have the thinking of statuses, custom fields, and all these different things that we want to do. But regardless, when you look at all the kind of functionality that we wanted to add, it all still needs a basic unit of a custom task type, which didn't exist in ClickUp.
Yeah.
2.0 had no, even if you look at our architecture, there was no real like, hey, this is what how you can kind of build on top of. So that's what we wanted to start with. We started with, let's define it so folks can start creating their own types and start assigning things that make sense. And the funny part, so this is the story, is that a lot of folks, it's just about training, because you start using ClickUp and you're like, okay, I love it. This is a task. Great. I'm going to start using this for my CRM. This is my list for my customers. And you build it out and you know it. But as soon as you bring somebody else on and they say, how do I add in a customer? You click add task. Well, what about a task? Add task. What about a project? Add task. I'm confused. Yes.
A tale as old as time, right? Yeah.
So I think that's the real thing. It's like we wanted to build, like, let's just get that flexibility in so you can start doing it. And then we're going to start building the rest of the functionality, like get automations in there. Group by is hopefully coming in soon. And we're still doing a lot of the thinking on the fields and the statuses and how we can work with that.
I think you mentioned sort of the partnership between task and automations. As someone who works very closely with our engineering team, I think one of my favorite things about our ideology at ClickUp from an engineering perspective is that we build these foundational things to go now drive innovation off of. It's not you working in a silo building something, but you're collaborating in ClickUp saying, okay, I'm going to build this. How can the other engineering squads now use it to go unblock their projects? So very excited about really that custom task type. I think it's going to unblock so much for us as a company.
Change. It's funny though, right? Like there's so much more coming out for custom task types, but like even just tweaking the new task, new lead, new opportunity, new marketing campaign button, how much of a difference? Like,
it just simplifies.
It's going to make such a difference.
And speaking of like copy changes, I don't know if you want to talk about the comment, because that was very interesting how we changed the language of a comment and saw usage increase once we changed it.
Oh, he's talking about the gray text in the comment
where
box?
It says write a comment.
Write a comment.
So as an example, it used to say something like write a comment or use slash commands. And we saw this percentage of usage. And then once we just changed it, you remember
God, it's been such a journey with tasks, and I'm just like trying to figure out where in the timeline we're talking about.
Yeah.
That came out of our Nux studies though, because like to your point, you're saying when you build ClickUp, ClickUp, right? And I'm
Yes.
sure anyone watching the stream has probably built ClickUp at some point. It's your head.
Mhm.
But then you show it to someone else and they're like, I'm looking at your brain structure on paper right now, and sometimes it doesn't innately click. That being said, I forgot to mention this. For anyone watching, we're going to cover a lot of topics today, but as it comes to your mind, if you have any questions about 3.0, ClickUp, even AI, automations, or tasks, drop them in the chat. We have a team of moderators who are listening in and feeding me the questions, so we'll talk about it if you guys want us to discuss anything, or just say hi.
So maybe just to wrap up that thought, it's just
Yeah.
I was just going to say that like we changed literally just the text of where it's like the placeholder text for comments.
Mhm.
Once we changed that, the usage increased heavily.
Yeah.
And so it's just very enlightening for us to understand that just small changes like that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
I'll close the loop on that too, though. Like this is the story of how we figured that out. So we're doing our Nux, like our new user
What's
experience.
Nux?
It's our user experience project study. It's an ongoing program, right? We were showing people who had never used ClickUp before ClickUp, and they were going through it, and we were leaving them very abstract instructions, like, "Hey, communicate with your teammate through the request," which was a task. So they would create the task. But then when it came to communicating with their teammate, they'd go into like the task description. They were like looking everywhere. They were like trying to like pull up some kind of like a direct messaging service. And very few of them at that time figured out that it was in that comment box. So we're like, whoa, 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 Ivan, like what can we do here to improve it? And it worked, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like when we're building products, we're not always going to get it right the first time.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think it's always a balance because we have folks that have used it forever, like we've been using it for many years, and you have some that are brand new to using ClickUp. So what's their experience going to be like? And I think with a lot of this, we're testing the waters. We try a new design and we think, okay, I think this will work. If you've already used ClickUp, you may find this frustrating because it's not your actual habit. But then you take someone that's brand new to it, that's never used ClickUp, that's never built that habit, and they're like, this one actually makes more sense to me. So I think a lot of it is just kind of trialing it out, airing it, and we do multiple types. We'll talk with people that have not dive in just so we know what's that kind of fresh perspective. Can we make that learning curve a little bit easier? And then we also talk with existing customers. Like the task view was in beta for so long, and we had so many people that were in the beta, which is actually kind of funny because like it feels like 3.0 has been out for a while for us.
Yeah.
and
How
for-
long?
Yeah.
How long has Task View been out?
We've been hanging out for like a good few months, and
Dang.
we had the beta for a while, and there was a lot of customers that were on it. They were using the task view. They were giving in the feedback. We've been adjusting it. So there's definitely a lot of us that were just kind of like we were sitting on it for a bit. Well, not sitting on it, but we were working through it until the whole team was ready to kind of release 3.0.
Gotcha. Well, we'll move on to automations because I think we've talked about tasks for a bit, and I want to give our viewers the best experience of. I mean, we've got so much to cover here, but it's funny. Tasks, we could probably spend this whole hour talking about it just because of how much ClickUp revolves around it.
Mhm.
What is a list but a collection of tasks? What is a folder but a collection of lists that contain tasks? What is a space but well, I'm not going to go on. You guys get the point.
Yeah.
We've got a question from the community in the chat. What is your user testing process when implementing changes or updates to ClickUp? And Zach, I'll
Great
let you handle that one.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thankfully, we have a very active community, so we have the privilege of going to Canny and having 1,000 vote feature requests that we can say, hey, here's a quick type form survey, go fill it out, or hey, here's my link to hop on a call, 15-minute call, let's go chat. We can also look at our data and see like, okay, who are the top power users of, let's say, automations or AI, and then I can reach out saying, hey, I'm the PM on the team. Would you like to talk about this feature? So it depends on the feature. Sometimes qualitative data is more important. Sometimes quantitative data is more important.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do interviews.
We do interviews, user tests,
Surveys.
we'll walk around the office and just show off our laptop, like, "Hey, Liam, does this work for you?" It really depends. And like the smaller features, we might just ship and iterate. I think anyone who's been with ClickUp for a while knows that's how we build.
Yeah.
It comes with its pros and cons, but we think that over the long period of ClickUp's history, it's been much more beneficial to say, here's a feature that gets you like 70% of what you're looking for, and then we will learn and then add that other 30%. Because a lot of the times, after talking to customers, our whole design changes. So like one of the things that we, I think, learned from and have been starting to change is we'd make these fully fleshed designs, and it would take a lot of design effort. It would say, okay, here it is, and we'd share it with the community, and they'd say, oh yeah, this won't help me at all. And we just wasted a ton of design time. So now it's like, okay, here's what we're thinking, and that was like very low effort wireframe. We can get that feedback and iterate. So yeah, to answer the question though, that we have a ton of different ways, or we'll hop on a call with someone like Liam with a real customer that's looking for this use case, and we'll show them a Figma design. And yeah, so there's a lot of ways.
Yeah. That must be interesting for you, Liam, because obviously you're more on the sales side, but you're technical, right? How do you make that decision about when or when not to introduce like a beta feature to a customer? Like even for us, right? I'm sure we've all thought here, like, how many people should we roll this beta out to? Should we just release it to everyone? Like with 3.0, we could have released it months earlier, right? And we would have had to say, hey,
It wasn't ready.
yeah, well, like you guys go, pressure test this and all, but then there were like issues that we wanted to make sure were refined. But that was a really hard decision for us. And I feel like you have to do this constantly, I have to imagine. How do you make that trade-off? Like when you decide someone's really ready for this or when it wouldn't be helpful?
So I think it's really situational, and it's sort of interesting because I work with customers who are existing customers, and it's new teams within that customer. I work with existing customers, existing teams, completely new companies. So it really depends on the feature. If it's a entirely new feature, I'll typically look for people who are newer to the platform so we can get new perspectives. If it's an enhancement to an existing feature, or we're filling that last 30%, I'll tend to look for those power users, people who really understand our platform. And that's why I love the iterative approach that we take here, because I think it allows us to nail that user experience as we've all been talking about today. And when it comes to that iterative approach, I think you look at a lot of the most successful tech companies, everyone is taking that iterative approach. Agile is really taking over not only the software world, but I'm seeing very successful marketing teams doing it now, where they're doing
it's funny, right?
sprints.
People are like working out a sprint. I'm like, wait, what? You guys like are demand gen. Like, why are you working out a sprint?
I work in sales, and my team, we do a weekly sprint where I'm adding the top opportunities. I'm working with customers. We're doing a weekly stand-up where we're going through and running very agile, where we're finding blockers. And what's really interesting to me about Agile is it's not super new concept. It's becoming more and more popular. And there's really been these two trains of thinking when it comes to work management. There's been your waterfall, there's been your Agile. And there is platforms that are great at both. There's platforms that are very, very good at waterfall. There's platforms that are very, very good at Agile. Historically, there hasn't been a platform that has been good at both.
Yeah.
Clickup, because of our flexibility, is really the first platform that can enable this. So we have this amazing feature called task or subtask and multiple list, TIML or SIML as we like to call it. We use it heavily internally. So when he is working on something and he needs his input, he can add something from his backlog to his backlog. It's not a duplication of work. It is now living in both teams' workflow. And we're seeing now hybrid project management. I like to call it waterfall agile, or WAGile is my favorite one.
That is the first time I've heard of that one. Agile.
And we're seeing project management offices now be able to better collaborate with technical teams, because they can take their waterfall project in ClickUp, and maybe the QA testing at the very end is for a development team. They can add that specific part of that waterfall project to an agile team's backlog, And as the development team or the QA team is working on it, it's updating the waterfall project.
Yeah.
So it's really allowing for a merging of these two types of project methodologies. And what we're seeing is many companies are trying to transition from waterfall to fully agile. And ClickUp allows them to do that in a very seamless and very easy manner rather than needing to say, okay, we're waterfall today, we're agile tomorrow. It's a journey. And
Yeah.
you can get there with ClickUp over the course of a year or 2 years.
Sign me up. I thought I'd also explain why Liam's dressed much better than the rest of us right now.
Oh,
He's
why are you
going
gonna call us
to
out?
well, he's looking fancy. Those are really nice pants. Are they wool?
They are.
Okay, see, I can tell. You're going to what, Texas on a flight for a
Going
customer?
to Texas, we are actually talking about Agile. This customer is launching a full-blown Agile transformation. They're flying in their whole company, and they have an Agile transformation coach coming in to speak. And then they're going to say, and the
Ooh.
vehicle we're doing this Agile transformation
Yeah.
is ClickUp. Here's Liam to talk about
Nice.
ClickUp.
That's actually that's like pretty dope.
I'm excited.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd like to see a world where everyone's working out of Agile specifically, though, because I think sprints. We talk about like efficiency, right? The factory lines, like what Ford did in the 20th century, was crazy, right? He turned factories into really efficient processes where you're just standing there, something comes, you work on it, it moves on. And Agile really it really promotes that, right? They're saying, hey, when something comes here, you move it on and you're done. It's off your plate. But you're running in this like mode where you're basically just working on just one thing at a time and it's coming in. But I feel like work's becoming more flexible than that. And maybe to your point, that's what's happening with Agile, right? Or these hybrid systems where people want to work on things in different ways, or maybe it doesn't fit the exact narrative of Agile. But yeah, I would love to work out of a jog, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Personally.
Oh my God. On that topic of car manufacturers, so Toyota created Kanban Agile, like the Kanban board. They created that in the 1940s to revolutionize their manufacturing.
They could have created Trello and they didn't.
And they didn't.
What
and
the
it was
heck?
super, super revolutionary at the time. So what's very interesting is for a lot of our customers, using Kanban boards isn't revolutionary. But what is revolutionary is having it embedded in their project management system. They no longer need to have a separate system to do Kanban boards, a separate system to do work management, but it's this all-in-one application now where you can work how you want to work, regardless of what team you are, regardless of the methodology. And the analogy I always like to provide is, anyone who lives in a home, I'm sure you have a Bluetooth remote, an Apple TV, or a TV remote, a speaker remote, Xbox, whatever. Apple introduced this Apple TV remote, and now you can control it all in one place, and you can do whatever you want. And that's sort of what ClickUp is. I view it as this universal remote that no matter what TV you're watching, no matter what application you're using, you can do it all in one place.
That is what people like about us. We're on the topic of efficiency now, and there's two areas that are like hyper linked to efficiency: automations and AI. Let's start with AI though, because that's the fun one. What a crazy year. Like crazy freaking year.
Mhm.
Good, good for those who invested into Microsoft early. Better for those who are working on it right now, I guess. Zach, you recently became PM of AI, but I know we've all been pretty intertwined with it because it's affected everyone, right?
Everyone here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's affected you, tasks, and AI.
Yeah, there's a lot of good little AI nuggets on tasks.
And sorry. Why? Okay. I'm sure people would be wondering this, right? Because like AI can do anything, right? Like in theory, right? You could have AI write your Hinge messages, go on Tinder for you. You can have an AI girlfriend. You can have an AI therapist. For a business, right? Though I'm sure people would be wondering, well, you can just put AI out there and it's like a buzzword and it's like, oh yeah, AI, like click, let me buy.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've tried to be a little bit more
thoughtful.
a little bit more thoughtful, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, hey, let's just put out some garbage that just says AI and it's not actually useful. Zach, so
Yes.
why do anything with AI, right? Where should we be doing AI? Where don't we? And I'd love to hear how you think about this.
Yes, and sorry, I'm trying not to die right now.
Okay.
But
Cough
Cough
drop.
drop.
actually, yeah, that'd be great. So I think there's two things we need to do. We think we should do. One is there are people that hear the word AI and just start thinking about robots, and they have no idea what it means. And we need to make sure to bring those people into the fold and say, this is actually how it can help your work. And so maybe just a simple tool saying, hey, here's a template that now you can create an email, or if you want to write a story or a PRD or whatever. So we give you that very simple use case. And that's kind of like the introduction. That's the training piece. And then there's the piece where we're going more towards, which is we want to save you time in your work. And I think none of us here are project managers, at least our title, but we all have project management work to get done. And so yours might be 10% of your job, 40% of yours. And so the features that we're adding to Clickup are meant to help reduce those heavily. So Liam, you're sharing your screen.
Yeah, is this probably a good time for me to demo if possible?
Yeah. So an example, we're looking at this task right now for like an email promotion, for a holiday promotion. Like I was saying, you might want to start out by saying, I am in the marketing department and I need to create a campaign idea. So this gives you very clear instruction. We're not trying to scare you away by saying AI and like you have to be some amazing coder to understand what that is. You can just simply write out a couple sentences for instructions for a prompt, and then you can realize, I asked something and I get something back. So now I'm educated. And so once this finishes, we can insert this into the description. And then this is where the second piece comes into play, which is, well, now what? What else can I do?
And so just to put you on the spot, though,
Yeah.
right? Write with AI, edit with AI is table stakes nowadays, right?
Yeah, everyone's got it.
If you understand the GPT API, you could insert that into, you could put that into anything, Google
Yeah.
Doc, right?
But you say GPT to like someone who has no idea what that is.
Of course,
Um,
but like write with AI is like, I would say table stakes though, right? Like everyone has a write AI product.
Correct.
That, go for it.
But an AI model is only good if you're inputting the correct information into it. And that's where those role-based prompts come into play, is they guide you of how to correctly use the AI models, which I think that's where a lot of people are failing, or not failing with AI today, but not using it to the fullest extent, is they don't know how to use it. So we're really training users. And then I think the secondary part where he's about to bring us is the real benefit of it is embedding it in the platform. So I was talking to one of the enterprise customers who's really powering the AI revolution, not to name any customers, but they were thoroughly impressed with what we're doing with AI, because we're allowing you to do something you couldn't do with a standalone AI solution. You would have to copy everything within Clickup, put it into GPT, and then put it back into Clickup. Whereas here in Clickup, I'm new to this project. I don't know what exactly I need to do. I can come into Subtask here and say, tell me what I need to do. Tell me the context of this.
Give me some inspiration.
Give me some inspiration. And that's something that you couldn't do with a standalone AI solution. Or another great example of this is you're a manager, you're about to catch your flight, you need to send your executive an update of a project. You don't have to go read through this whole thing. You now click a button and it's going to tell you, okay, what's happened in the last 24 hours? Or
Well, so that's what I'm interested in, right? Like the write with AI was the first that was the bare minimum ticket to get on the AI train, right? Everyone has it now. That's where I think like what I'm trying to get to is like this is like the second, third wave maybe of like AI being used in work management, task management, project management. And it's a fairly opinionated take. You said reduce work. Talk to me more about like how what we have here with the summaries, and you can keep showing it, Liam. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no,
on that.
you're good. You're good.
How does that link into what this future of AI looks like for at ClickUp at least?
We were talking about Agile a second ago.
Yeah.
And stand-ups, everyone knows, is like a very embedded process that you do weekly, daily, whatever. And so even the last 24 hours, now this is a task specific one, but we're about to come out with a feature that's a stand-up feature. You could probably at least just like show what it looks like. Yeah. Where you can say, I want to understand what Liam, or you can actually change the assignee for both of us. And you can say, I want to understand what Liam and Zach did the last 7 days. So like, that's my team.
Yeah.
I've now eliminated the need to have you, my manager, come ask us individually, DMing on Slack. You can just go generate that yourself.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny though? We were like, oh my God, the revolution. Like,
I know.
We got Slack. Like, Slack's going to change everything. And I remember like reading like, oh my gosh, whatever, the Slack CEO's like, we don't chase horses or whatever. I forget the name of we don't sell saddles here. That was like his like memo. And he was talking about like what Slack's mission is. And it's like interesting how Slack has evolved to effectively just be text messages that you need to check and they're just pending there. And it's the same amount of work that you have to do. It's just a more efficient way of communicating them. But the amount of work you have to do hasn't changed, right? Zach, what are you working on? What have you worked on this month? Like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've spent hours and like week. My background was in sales. Even in sales, that's a common thing. Tell me about your deals. Which deals are at risk?
Well, yeah,
it's hours.
And then we're on like EPD, engineering product design calls. So I have my squad stand up, and then I got to ladder that up to my managers, and then they got to ladder that up to the leadership team. And so like, how many times did someone just like DM each other and compile a summary of what you did? So that's one piece. But I think, AI, we want to bring it to as many surface areas in ClickUp as possible, because there's a lot of different things that people do, and we want to reduce the amount of work you have to do.
Yeah.
And then we also want to reduce the amount of questions you're asking outside. ClickUp, if you're doing it, what I'd say maybe is properly, is you have your information there. So you should be able eventually to ask questions about what the heck's in my workspace without having to go to someone who has tribal knowledge of it's just in this one location you're never going to know about. It should be something you can simply ask. And then tying it into automations, I think that's kind of like the next step is, well, now I can do all this manually, like Liam showed. Sure, I can get my last 24-hour stand-up, but now I want to automate that for like every Monday, send this to my boss.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the future, I think.
Via ClickUp or like via email.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the interesting part, right? Like AI, GPT, everyone has a Chat GPT account, whatever. But to Liam's point, if it's separate than the platform you're working in, then you're just switching back and forth, and that's context switching, which is a problem. Like, we have plenty of evidence to support that, right?
Yeah, and like the power users who know about every new model released, they're going to use those, and that's fine, for your workflows. But for the companies that want to embrace this next level productivity, have it bundled in ClickUp. We're going to be building it very quickly alongside all the releases coming out. And we're going to make it tailored to the work you've already built out. Like, you don't have to go set up something in, like you said, like ChatGPT.
Yeah, I think the automations part is just so cool because, like, to ChatGPT's point, right, you have to do it instantaneously. There is no automations out there. There's some platforms like Bardeen that maybe do it a little bit, but they're like Chrome extensions. That seems like the real intersection though, right? Like, we're talking about efficiency. What's more efficient than having a stand-up or even a project summary automatically sent out to 10 stakeholders via email?
Correct.
Crazy.
Yep. From the technical side, I work with a lot of IT and security teams as a part of the evaluations going through security reviews. And AI has obviously been a major concern for these individuals.
Yep.
And one thing that I consistently hear from these teams is, oh, so you're telling me if we use ClickUp AI, that people on my team are no longer going to be taking company data and putting it in God knows what AI models and having it stored in whatever database. It's going to be stored in a single platform where we have validated that the data is secure, the data is private.
No training.
It is not training other companies' models. It is not being shared externally. It makes IT and security teams much happier and much more confident in using AI in the workplace.
Yeah, it's weird how there's the confidence thing, right? Like you want to not only be certain that it's not sharing your data with anyone else, but that the outputs you get are accurate. I feel like that's a really interesting one, actually. Like, um, when you are getting a summary of a project or a task, how do we convince people that that summary is accurate? Like, is that something that I guess your team's working on right now, Zach?
Yeah, and I mean, so going back to iterative, we are building, shipping, learning, and repeat that cycle. But
Yeah.
like what you see, if it's still being shared, is like a summary. So you can go validate if that is what you
Yeah.
intended it to be. If not, report it. Let us know. We'll fix it. The cool thing is we're blending the technical engineering side with the prompt engineering side, which even someone like us can do that don't have technical
Yeah.
backgrounds, which is just essentially asking the right questions to AI. Because if I say write me product requirements, okay, I'll get a template. But if I say as a PM working at a SaaS company, so on so forth, then write me a PRD. Well, now I have something very contextual. So bringing it back to like a summary, we have these prompts that are built to make sure that the summary is actually helpful and useful. And the thing is, you can also you can reprompt and ask questions if you do want to understand more about what it summarized. But like we'll gather context from your description, your title, your comments, and make sure we summarize everything that's been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was interesting, because it's been like a very topical point, at least the past 2-3 months, I would say, is using AI to surface data you have within your own workspace, right? So Microsoft, as we know, they're doing Copilot, and not too dissimilar from Microsoft, honestly. I feel like people have a ton of data in Clickup, but just like Snowflake or MongoDB, it doesn't matter how much data you actually have. It matters how easy your access is to it, right? Hence all these like automated data analysts, AI data analyst type solutions trying to come out. I know we have a ton of information in ClickUp, right? Like even a task like you shared can have so much info in it.
Yeah.
How important is it for us to make that a focus of AI versus using it for like a buddy?
A buddy.
You know,
Everyone
think-
needs
No,
a buddy.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
okay.
a brainstorm buddy.
It's critical because, like you said, it's what was the point of putting all that information in if I can't easily access it or know where it is? So this is kind of a plug to say, keep your data inside of ClickUp. We even have this running joke internally. If someone talks about a task in Slack, it's like our job to say, put that in ClickUp. And it's
My global vice president, Angela Bunner, will not respond to most messages in Slack. She'll just react with the ClickUp emoji and say,
She's like, it has to be a
get
task.
it back and ClickUp.
But it can just become so much noise, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's critical. Like we need to surface that information, and I'm even like we're starting to play around internally on our own playground with being able to do that.
Ask the questions.
Yeah.
And it's got to have the right intent. It's got to know if you're asking about a task or doc or a comment. So once we get that right, I think it'll be awesome because you'll have, again, all the information. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, like talking to your data effectively.
Yes.
Um,
In language that is not technical. You're just like, what happened last quarter?
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting, because that's how Confluence was, right? You'd have to use what is it, jQuery?
Yeah, JQL. which is,
JQL. Oh my
built
gosh.
on SQL. And now in ClickUp, it's how do I want to group this? How do I want to filter this? Who do I want to view
Natural
it from?
language.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember that being such a huge problem. Like I don't know, when I was talking to customers, especially like that 2 years ago, like when it was like at its height of its fervor, like, oh my gosh, we hate Confluence so freaking much. Like, I don't know. That was actually for me when I was in sales. Like when I heard someone say that, I was like, well, do I have something for you that you're gonna like? But I think even Jira and Atlassian's probably like, holy crap, we need to make this easier to use. And I think Confluence since then has come out with easier ways of searching within. But it feels like AI is the next frontier for searching data.
Mm-hmm.
This makes it easier to get questions answered.
Yeah.
I think like even so like I'm thinking of my own use case of how we use it as well. So like within the task, we have the AI summary feature and the whole like, hey, let's figure out where we're at. So mine is less about like, let me get you an answer. Sometimes for me, it's just like, I haven't had my morning coffee yet.
Yeah.
And I need to process this better. So just by getting the summary, I'm able to understand, okay, I can jump into this cold versus a lot of times, like you think about it, sometimes you're like, I need to read this 4 times. No longer. Get that summary, understand it. I need to act on this or I don't need to act on it. And if
Yep.
you need to get the details, you can go and get the details. Or
Yeah, that's the hack I do. I like summarize and then I'm like, is there anything for me here? Like, do I need to actually take an action? That happens a lot on like bug tasks.
Mhm.
There's so much back and forth between like the
just
QA.
troubleshooting it.
Yeah.
It happened in this machine, whatever.
And so I can even just ask like, okay, first summarize this because this is too much information.
Mhm.
And then what were the reproduction steps? If there weren't any, is there any action item for me? No? Okay. Now I know I can maybe push that back and say like, I need more information.
We need to dig in deeper.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of the things it's like it's a tricky one to kind of reproduce.
Yep.
So you have that. You could even have it like when we were working. I'm going to bring up task types again because it's the project that I was doing it. But like I had everything kind of scoped out, documented out, and then to be able to just internally say like, when is this going? What's our plan for release? Do we have this done? And I'm like, okay, I know I wrote this down. I know I thought about it.
Yeah, where,
and then just ask the question and then be like, oh yeah, that's right. Here's the doc that I was working on. I'm like, I'm so glad I documented this, and I'm so glad that I actually went into the detail here because now I'm able to get my answers back in times where I don't have coffee. I keep on
And the
going
answers
back to
get
that.
better. The answers get better the more information you've got in the platform, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah,
Right?
you always want to be clear. It kind of it enforces why you want to be a little bit more clear with everything. Like be a little bit verbose, be a little bit like this is why we're doing things. This is the history. This is where I can find it. And then don't worry about coming back and reading it. I think that's where a lot of challenges where I used to like you write a big document and you give that to somebody else, they're gonna be like, I don't want to read all these pages. But if you write the whole document and then you can just ask the question, it says, look here, and it's just a guide,
Yeah.
then I can save so much more time.
Of course.
Or
yeah.
we have that AI button that says explain or summarize. So
Yeah,
it's
go deeper.
no matter how you
Yeah.
want to do it. And not exactly on the topic of AI, but I think very related is searchability of knowledge. And that's something I talk to a lot of customers about is over the last 10, 15 years, there's been an amazing best of breed solution created for everything, which was super cool at first. But now when I talk to a Fortune 50 company, they have 1,000 applications. They have 2,000 different document databases. So something I am so excited about our vision for is our universal search, of being able to search across anything in your tech ecosystem. Inherently, there's going to be Slack, there's going to be email, there's going to be these Salesforce systems. And being able to search across all of them directly from within ClickUp, I think is going to be extremely impactful. I use it every day. When I'm working with a customer, I can search their name. I see the Salesforce records. I see my Slack messages about them. I see my ClickUp messages, my emails, rather than having to search in one place, search in another, hop between different tabs. I find information like that. And I've been trying to enable and empower more and more of our customers to use it. So I think it's going to be a massive value add in something that isn't really being done in our industry yet. It's kind of, there's these standalone solutions like Glean and Guru, but I think the combination of AI, searchability, and productivity and work management is going to really take things to the next level.
Like your information all the information at your fingertips.
At your fingertips.
I do have a question from the audience, and they were actually asking, how are you able to do meeting notes for stand-ups? I think in the demo it said it looked like there were assignees. Like how now? I guess like they want to maybe see how that feature works. I don't know if we
in
want to demo
stand-up?
it on this environment.
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
So
I actually already did it live, so
Yeah.
we'll just do it again. So we can
We
can
just-
go in, put in whoever we want. I don't know if Ivan put anything in here, but we'll go ahead
let's
Probably
change it to
didn't.
short.
and we'll change it to short, and we'll say what's been happening this week.
So I think you're talking. Yeah, go for it. I think you're talking about the the names and the mentions. So we just actually built this like last week. We did an AI hackathon in the office, but these I think you can hover over, and so those are people mentions, and then these are going to be the actual tasks. So if you wanted to drill into that one right there, you could drill right into that. Is that kind of what
I
was being
suppose
asked?
so. Yeah, I haven't even
But
seen
for-
this because it's like a week old.
And your vision for that
For-
in the future, right, is to allow for a team stand up. We're saying, hey, what's this team done?
Yeah, so we are able to do that. You'll be able to select up to 10 people for now, just because of the size. But yeah, you can get a team update for the past 7 days or so. Specifically on like the meeting notes use case, I feel like that might not be exactly this. They're thinking more maybe like real time. Like I'm in a Zoom call and it like summarizes. It's something.
Maybe. I mean, that's
It's a little bit
also that would also be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's something we talk about.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
but-
like, because Zoom, Otter, they're all just coming up with all of these like
Yeah.
transcripts and action items. Those action items are useless. Like, thank you,
I mean-
Zoom. What am I going to do with this? There's no accountability. Where does that information go? What does Otter think we're going to do with this information? Just manually transpose it into whatever we're using, like Asana or ClickUp?
Yeah, I think when there's workarounds too, like, do we really need to compete against them right now? Maybe not. So we
Yeah.
can still use the information from notes we take on the call,
Yeah.
put that in my task, and now say, okay, generate action items, summarize
From the
format, form.
transcript.
Yeah. So I think
Mhm.
there's ways to do it that we want to see how the market plays with that, and then we'll maybe dabble a little bit more.
Yeah. One other fun question. And yeah, guys, if you have any other questions, like hit us up with it right now. We'll probably do like a little bit of a Q&A part if there's more. Do you see ClickUp users are using the desktop app or web browser more often?
Mm-hmm. We have the data on this.
We do have.
I don't remember the exact, but I want to say it's like at least a third of users are on desktop.
Yeah.
And
I mean, what do you use?
web.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, I need my tabs because I'm crazy and I have like 50 tabs
I'm
open.
also crazy, so.
Once we get that, like, I would absolutely switch over because desktop has, going back to the search command bar, the ability to search. I think
Your files.
your files on your desktop, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. No, the desktop app has
A lot of features.
changed dramatically
That's gotten
over the
better.
past year. It has gotten like I was just using it last week because I had built a gaming PC and I was like, all right, I'm gonna have the desktop app. It is really good. I wanted to say surprisingly, but it's like I remember a time when I joined ClickUp, the desktop app was okay.
Yeah.
And now it has just it's been popping off. The team in charge of that, Ivan K and his group,
Yeah.
they've done a good job.
Yeah, it's good, and there's obviously a large amount of people using desktop now.
Yeah.
Like, it's been going. It's absolutely been increasing in usage, but I just need tabs.
Yeah. Are you I don't know. For me, it's because I use Arc browser. So like I want everything in one browser, like including my Spotify. But imagine for you, it's just like
Oh yeah, no
Task
tabs,
Mageddon.
groups.
Flicking
much.
between tabs.
it's interesting, like that. Wow, I keep saying it's interesting, right? But it is interesting. We could have gone in a direction where we had tabs in ClickUp, right? Where
We
you
still can.
basically just I know, but think about that. If we had offered that level of flexibility where you can just have everything floating around and you're just quickly navigating it through, which is basically what favorites is, right? Favorites can act like a tabs with your favorites, but if favorites forces you to be very particular about what tabs you want, right? Your most accessed, most important things versus tabs, like at least we see in Chrome and whatever system that's similar to Chrome, you end up having a ton of tabs, right? And then you're like, oh, where was this? Where was this? Where was this? Where was this? And then you're just getting lost.
Mm.
It just really depends. It's so I don't know how many people know this, but like, so I'm very much like I'll get crazy with tabs, but then when I'm changing topics, I need a reset.
Yeah.
So I have it like set up where I will nuke all the tabs,
Yeah.
empty out my desktop, delete everything, and then I switch to another state.
It's just like clearing your desk.
It's just like clear my desk. Like
Yeah.
if I downloaded something temporarily, I put it in a ClickUp task, and then if I didn't, that's gone.
I know. I sit next to you. I'm still like wild.
But it's
I would
just like-
never do that.
It's just like a way to focus, but it's like I have my chaos state, and then I'm able to kind of work through it, and then I have my all right, let's clean it. and
You just
go through it.
command Q and just nuke
Nuke
Yes.
it all,
it.
close out
Yeah.
I
everything. it's all
love
gone.
that.
Yeah.
That would give me so much anxiety.
It does. I'm looking over like,
Like,
you
what
just
did I
lost
lose?
all
What did
your
I lose?
information. Goodbye.
You put it in ClickUp, you'll be fine.
when you software, right, what it's turning into nowadays is basically like a virtual representation of physical ways of working in the past, right? You clearing your tabs is similar to clearing your desk. You having a really well structured ClickUp is like being one of those people that had a really nice filing system, right? Hey, listen, you're working in my office, my workspace. This file goes here. This file goes here. Like it's very neatly organized, and I've got colors, and I'm using private views. I would wonder if it's like, I mean, obviously that's why we use folders today. But like those naming conventions, kind of crazy how like if you were to name something against a physical object, your brain will always just think like that's what I'm familiar with. And we're really entering a new era where something goes isn't something you have to think about. You create a task, it just goes somewhere to the right place, hopefully.
Right.
You need to work on a project, you don't have to search for it. You don't have to like look for where it is in your hierarchy, which is basically a folder system. I don't know. I think that's very exciting for me personally. Like I hate having to look for where I should put something.
Yeah.
And like what that future could look like. That's actually something that
I
we're
was gonna
kind of
say-
working on, right?
Well, for automations, I'll just say that at least internally, we have so many set up
Yeah.
because there's so many different teams that need to work with each other, and you will get the virtual slap on the hand if you don't fill out the right field. It'll be like this automation pops up saying you need to fill out the item type. And you do that, and now it's going to move it to the right list.
Yeah.
So the process that we've set up internally has been really helpful with automations, and I think it will get better. We are working right now on getting dynamic assignees in, so you'll be able to say whenever someone submits a form, which is going to be a task, route that to the right folder. And before you had to say, when Ken does this, when Ivan does this, and we have literally like 100 automations for every squad. Now we can roll that up into just like, when some squad does this, route it to the right place. So I think we're going to get to a place where the organization is better as well with automations and maybe even AI together. So
where
we'll
it's just like a seamless experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I think that's probably our core philosophy here, right? Like how can we make stuff easier? We use it every day though, so that's probably the
Yeah.
benefit we have. But I don't know if Asana does that too, I think, right? You'd have to. Like I cannot imagine you working at a project management company and not using your own platform to do
for
your work.
sure.
And yeah, because that's like
How often do you guys look at your emails?
never.
Oh, wait, okay, you're different, but you got to use it.
Very rarely, unless it's customer facing. If I'm working internally, it's all in ClickUp.
I think it would be shocking if anyone here ever sent an email internally.
Yeah, maybe got like.
It sounded like you've done it. It sounded like
no,
you've done
I haven't
it.
done.
Okay.
I've only had like a couple people in my lifetime here, like 4 years, actually emailing me about something.
It's funny because it's usually from someone who's very new to the
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
And I'll
Yeah,
Slack them and be
yeah.
like, hey, FYI, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
put
They're
it in
like, hey,
ClickUp.
listen, I just came from Salesforce and like whatever. Yeah, I don't know. You would think that the bigger companies had figured out better ways of communicating internally.
So if there's no other questions, I think it would be kind of interesting is, we're talking about 3.0, some of the unconventional ways that we built and worked on 3.0. Example, we're talking about email, how that's like very unconventional here. We'll spin up, let's just say like a Slack channel for a very specific purpose, and we'll get all of leadership, like a bunch of different product teams, and we will just jam on some idea or some initiative, and that's actually helped us done quite a bit of 3.0 features. Maybe that's something to talk about because I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually trying to be wary of the time because we are at the top of the hour. Because like 3.0, it might. Yeah, we could talk about that for so long. But I do see it's 11, so I will wind down here. I did get a message that we are going to send out a feedback survey QR code to the audience. So please, guys, let us know what you thought about this. We're always looking to improve, and it's like if this was interesting or valuable to you, or we can do something to make it more interesting or valuable to you, let us know. we just work like
We just
we
work
just
here.
work at ClickUp, you know. So whatever you guys want to know, we want to like let you guys see as behind the scenes as possible, because like that's how we develop everything here. It's like, what do our customers want?
This is behind the scenes for sure.
We're-
We're in the office.
we're real
Our
people.
desk is over there.
Yeah. But my name's Ken. It was great talking with you. I'm ClickUp's product strategist. I've been here for 2 years. I don't know. That's just who I am. If you joined halfway and you're like, who the heck is this guy? It's been great meeting with you. And Ivan, I think your mic might be out, so I'll
Oh,
just
is it
yeah.
out?
I'll say this is Ivan.
no.
He's our task product manager.
This whole time they couldn't even
Yeah,
hear me.
he's been here very long time
I've been
too.
here for like 4 years.
4
It's
years.
been a while.
Yeah.
I'm Liam. I'm a solutions engineer here. I've been here for 2.5 years.
And Zach, I've been here for 4 years. PM. I haven't beat me by 2 weeks.
So you guys know that we have the tenure to know what we're talking about. Join us next time for when we talk about the best flavor of lemonade. I don't know. That was that's
Lemonade.
terrible.
Now you're gonna have to get that.
Yeah, like it's strawberry. All right.